Here we go again. I cannot be trusted with an empty trailer.
Welcome to the Restore It Ralph channel. This week I drove about 3.5 hours away to pick up a new project.
All right, a little bit of a delay. We were sitting in the driveway, getting ready to go. The truck was warming up and we saw a bunch of coolant leaking out from underneath it. Looking like it's everywhere. And when I grab onto this water pump pulley, I can wiggle it. But coolant was draining out of it when I did it. So, time to put a water pump on it before we drive to Michigan. Old water pump, failed. Would have been cool to see that yesterday. Believe new water pump is on. Slimy serpentine belt is back on, so that'll squeak the whole way. Let's try and put some coolant into this thing and get on the road. After the water pump install, it's time to hit the road. Hopefully it's about an hour and a half up to Michigan where we're picking up the new car. Here it is, 2002 Dodge Stratus RT Coupe, 3-liter automatic. So it's the 6G72 with the 24 valve heads on it. So it's a single cam, but 24 valve. Has been setting a while, so no big deal. We'll clean her up a little bit. Big thing is it does not run right now. So we're gonna test for a fuel pump and see if that is the culprit, or do some diagnosis on it and see what we got. Some spare parts came with it, like extra brand new headlights. Tan leather interior, looks to be in pretty decent shape. This car is pretty well cared for, I can tell, and has some period modifications that, you know, this is an 02 and somebody's first brand new car. And it reminds me of like what I would have done when I first bought a brand new car. Definitely has some signs of sitting, so hopefully we don't have any wires chewed or anything like that. It's got an aftermarket cold air intake from back in the day. It's got a custom exhaust on the back section on it. And then the previous owner, which is the original owner, stated that it would run on carburetor cleaner the last time he tried starting it, and it would continue running and as long as they sprayed carb cleaner at it, but it seems like it's not getting any fuel up to the injectors. Threw a battery in it and verified that it does crank over fine, so what we're going to do is use some carburetor cleaner, kind of spray it down it and see if it'll maintain running status while the carburetor cleaner is there. This car should have a fuel pump access panel underneath the back seat. So I'm going to pop the back seat out, see if I got power at the fuel pump. If I do have power at the fuel pump, I need a fuel pump. There's the fuel pump access panel. So I'll get a Phillips screwdriver and pop that out and see what it was underneath there.
I thought that I filmed testing for power and ground at the fuel pump. Evidently I took like a 5-minute long photo, but I did have good power and ground at the fuel pump harness.
New fuel pump is ready to go in. Old pump is out. Took a rag and cleaned up all the old nasty fuel in there. There wasn't much in there, but just enough that hopefully this will make the new pump last longer. New fuel pump installed. I'm gonna try priming the pump. Success. All loaded up, ready to go the next morning. Time to get her home. 10 minutes from home and in standstill traffic. Dang it. Guess I could talk a little bit about this vehicle that I picked up, this 02 Dodge Stratus RT 3-liter Mitsubishi, basically a DSM. So Diamond Star Motors was the collaboration between Mitsubishi and Chrysler in the 90s, and probably before that. But in the 90s and early 2000s, Mitsubishi and Chrysler kind of got together and built cars in Normal, Illinois, and kind of shared designs and shared platforms. This Dodge Stratus is actually a third-gen Mitsubishi Eclipse underneath the skin, and even the dashboard and everything is the same. So pretty much a Mitsubishi. I was looking through the wiring schematics yesterday in the service manual, and they are definitely Mitsubishi schematics. There is not really anything Chrysler about it. So even though this is not one of my dream cars, I actually really liked these things back in the day. And you got to remember, in 2002, you had pretty much the Dakota RT was probably the most exciting performance vehicle that I can think of that was like realistic for a person to, a normal person to own. You did have Vipers, and even the Dodge Stealth was in production, which was another DSM, which is another Mitsubishi car rebranded by Chrysler. But there were no rear-wheel drive Chargers and 300s and Magnums yet. There were no Hemi cars, so this was, pretty much as far as a little sports car or a daily driver car, this is pretty much as good as it got for Mopar guys back in the late 90s and early 2000s. So I really like the looks of them. I forgot how much I like the looks of them, honestly. I really haven't seen one of these in so long. I forgot how much I actually do like them. So pretty excited to have this thing. It's going to be pretty sweet. I know my son is real excited about it, so we'll see. We'll probably be fighting over it for a little bit. Some things that I'm not as excited about on this car is it is front-wheel drive, and it is a timing belt car. Now, it's only a single cam, so it shouldn't be too hateful, but a V6 packed in the front of this thing is not giving me a whole lot of space to do a timing belt. It's only got 75,000 miles or something like that on it, so by mileage wise, I mean, it's still got some time left on the timing belt. Age, a 25-year-old car with a rubber belt doesn't make me feel good and about not replacing it. Also, this should be an interference engine because even though it's a single cam engine, it's the 24 valve head. So I believe this one is an interference engine. So that's probably something that I need to do sooner than later, as soon as I verify that everything else is kind of in working condition. Would have been a lot cooler if I'd have just gotten off at the previous exit. I guess we're gonna stress test our new water pump in traffic here. I guess we'll be okay. Until we aren't. Oh well. After the first bath in probably 7 or 8 years, makes me feel a lot better about it. This thing looks pretty sweet, actually. So I gotta say, I wasn't expecting to get one of these cars. After cleaning this thing up and getting it running, I like this thing a lot. What do you think I should do with it next? Fix it up? Probably needs the brakes gone through, a bunch of miscellaneous stuff.
Had to test the 212s and amp in the back. The subs still work for sure.
I can tell by the CD that was left in here. I'll have to see if he wants me to mail his CD back.
That thing is awesome. Ah, yeah. Wow. Man, this is pretty sweet.
I like it. Don't get too comfortable in that seat.
This thing is awesome. It's real sweet.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool.
This is a nice interior too.
Yeah, it'll clean up nice, I'm sure. It's not all beat up. One of the first little projects I'm going to tackle is the headlights. So they're fogged up. The car wash took off some black vinyl that was applied to the headlights back in the day. It's kind of like a little modification. So the car wash, this side was really baked on. Car wash blew those off, so I got to do something with them. I'm using my stripy eraser wheel here. It's like a rubber eraser on a drill. This one doesn't want to peel off either, so I'm just going to buzz that thing off, and then I'm going to use some fine sandpaper, wet, and then so I'll wet sand them and then run my buffer across them, see if I can clean them up a little bit. So I've got some wet or dry sandpaper, got some 1000 grit, got some 2000 grit as well, and a soft sanding sponge. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spray some soapy water. This is just an old spray bottle with some soapy water on the headlight, wet sand it, try and get this oxidized plastic off, and kind of blend it into the nice clear plastic, see where we're at. I'm going to start out with the coarser grit, so the 1000 grit first, and then see how the oxidation is coming off. I could go more aggressive, but I probably won't on plastic, just because I don't want to screw it up. So the water just keeps the sandpaper from getting clogged up with the bits that are coming off of it. I also like these sanding sponges because you can use them almost like a squeegee. See what your progress looks like. One thing worth mentioning is if you're doing this on a car that has good paint, you're going to want to mask off the fender or bumper cover and make sure you're not sanding through the paint. This one clear coats off of it, and I'm not too concerned with it, but that's just one precaution you need to do. I'm going to switch over to a little bit finer sandpaper, and then we'll hit the buffer. This headlight assembly actually has a line in it that you can catch with your fingernail because of where the black plastic was protecting the original headlight, and the other part got oxidized. So if I really wanted to fix these headlights, I'd get a lot more aggressive with the sanding. This car actually came with 2 spare headlight assemblies for this thing that are brand new. So I'm not going to put a whole lot of effort into this, but I'm also want it to look good until, or at least the lights work better, until if I decide to paint this thing, that's when it'll get the new headlight assemblies. I'm going to get the buffer out next. I'm going to take some compound, put it on the headlight, slowly mix it in with my buffing wheel, and try and polish this thing up. I think I'm going to call that decent for now, though there's probably a sealer that I should be putting on this, because right now I've got open pores or sand scratching in the plastic. But we'll see. I'm not sure if I want to, just because if I really want to save this headlight, that ridge right there needs to be sanded and polished out. So I might revisit that. But compared to what we started with, we're going to call that a victory. So I guess I just got to do this over again on this side. So this car, the headlights are a prominent feature on the front end. So when they look bad, the whole front end looks bad. I actually did do a little bit of sanding on the fog lights. I'm not sure if they're a different type of plastic, or I think there's some water intrusion in there too. So might have to take those apart. While I was doing that, my son was inside and he started doing some cleanup on the interior. So just kind of wiping down the dash, being careful with it. There are some cracks in it, but all in all, this interior is in pretty decent shape. Looks like there's some marks on there, so we're gonna experiment with some really like cleaning, maybe some steaming, and see if we can get some of that out. But all in all, I think this thing is going to clean up pretty good. The headliner is not even coming down, so we're gonna call this a win. Some of the next things we're gonna have to do is removing some of this old window tint, which was one of my least favorite things to do. We're gonna get a battery probably for this thing and let it get up to temperature, let it get good and warm, see if there's anything that we need to address. Saw some valve cover leaks and stuff like that, but nothing real big so far. And I don't know, we'll see the next steps for the thing. What do you guys think? What do you guys want to see with this thing? It's almost good enough to fill a couple door dings and do a scuff and shoot paint job. So we might do that, I'm not sure.
My son spent some more time on the interior while I wasted my life away with a razor blade and a steamer on the window tint. This video could have been a couple hours long, but I spared you that video footage. Interior cleaned up pretty nice. Still looking at ways to get tire marks off of the leather seat. I'm not sure if it actually stained it or kind of dyed the leather, so we might end up having to mix up some dye and blend that in. But so far so good. This thing is turning out pretty decent. Got a lot of the old vinyl off of the car in various places. For the moment I took the vent shades off of it because I would have to get those off to paint the car anyways. So we'll see if this thing deserves a paint job. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I'm really pleased on how this thing's turned out. So that's the story on the DSM Dodge so far. If you'd like to see more of this car on the channel, please let me know. Please like, comment, and share the channel. As always, thanks for watching.